Hey, welcome back to the Psychic Soul Healer channel. My name is Laura. If you're new to the channel, know that this is a shadow healing channel, which means that I look at how your spiritual wounds trigger your person and how they also play out within your karmic situations, how they play out within your everyday experiences, but they play out as karmic themes. And why I say it that way is a karmic theme is when we keep reliving experiences that keep us in a place of disempowerment. And that could be where we keep dating the same type of person that's emotionally not available for us, so we feel not lovable. Or we keep going after a job and we never get promoted. Or worse, we get fired. So again, karmic situations might keep us in a place of victimization, keep us in a mindset of lack and limitation. Okay, so if you're new to my channel, know that I always pull a card of the day, and that gives you the option to enter into winning a free reading with me if you write it in your comment bar, not the description box. The description box is where you'll find all my important links, such as my website link, Patreon link. Now, if you're interested in shadow healing, this is definitely the channel for you. If you are looking to heal the effects of psychic trauma or any type of trauma, this is the channel for you. Trauma is really what creates sabotaging behaviorisms that are unconscious. Wounds are held within the subconscious mind. So this is a channel where we do look at inner child wounds. We look at your shadows, and we look at the triggers, and then we look and see how those triggers play out within your relationship, and as I said, within every area of your life. Now, if you're interested in winning that reading with me, you will have to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and write the word in the description box. Omniscience. All right, you're going to write that word in your comment bar, not your description box. I don't know why I keep saying that. In your comment bar, you'll know if I chose you, if I wrote the word winner underneath. If I did, you and I will just correspond back and forth on YouTube, figure out the best time and date that works for both of us. Don't worry about having to find the link, because I will post that link underneath our comments. All right. Now, this is going to be a message for Leo. Know that energy is fluid. Roles can be reversed, flip it, switch it, twist it. Just interpret the message as it best resonates for you. Never force anything. We're going to start off, and we're going to just look and see what your person feels about you, or what they feel about the situation. No, it takes a little while. This is a big deck of cards, so I mean, it has, as you can see, it's over. It is definitely over 78 cards. Oop, okay, so 2 cards came out, and we're going to take them. Our inner children are crying out right now. We both need to comfort them and become the parents. So, you think I'm not listening to you, but I am. I hear everything you say, and even replay our conversations in my head. So I feel that this is a soulmate, and this is a soulmate that's actually a karmic mate. And it's a karmic mate because you both have wounds, but you're both very attracted to each other. And there's a sense of this spiritual connection that's a familiarity. You both feel like home to each other. However, you think differently, and you both trigger each other. And you both are triggering each other because you both have a perception of the way that the other should act. And it's based on how you were raised. It was based on what you're familiar to. It's based on what they're familiar to. So you both are like in this Mexican standstill where like there's a lot of love and caring and feeling, but there's also a lot of pain. And soul relationships do this. Soul relationships make us fight with our head and our heart because we have a block. And that block is saying more about us than it is about the other person, believe it or not. And what this is saying is, you, Leo, do not feel that your person listens to you because they don't show any feeling or emotion. And because they don't, you don't think that they care. So this person is not as emotionally intelligent as you are. They have other gifts, but this relationship, because you both really do care about each other, there's a sense that you can't stay and you can't leave. Like when you can't live with someone and you can't live without someone, so you don't really know what to do. And this is what's causing so much frustration. And that's really what a trigger is. Triggers are that. It's when they bring up a lot of emotion. So we're going to look at the shadows. And I really wanted to look at the inner child one. So let's look at the inner child ones first, and then we'll look at the shadows. The inner child ones will always tell us, I had a business card in there, just so you know. I'm not taking any cards out. Just wanted you to see, all right. So we're gonna see what cards fall out for you and what cards fall out for them. Unworthy, unworthy. So I feel like your person like was taught not to show their feelings, not to show that never really show their feelings because it didn't matter anyway. And that made them not feel good about themselves. So there's a sense when someone gets emotional and they care about that person, they almost don't know what to do. And that triggers the wound that you have within inside of you, which at one time someone made you feel unworthy. And unworthy, just to be able to speak your truth when you're a child, to be able to express yourself. So if you are a sensitive person, your parent might have said, oh, stop being sensitive, or don't be so sensitive. Just, which is pretty much saying, don't be you. Like you're not allowed to be you, that your feelings and your opinions don't matter, even though they do. And sometimes it could just be shown as when you're expressing your opinion, someone yells at you to pretty much like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. Shut up. And the person takes it very, very personally, like their opinions don't matter. So whatever they say is going to be the wrong thing to say. So they don't say anything. And what winds up happening is you feel like they don't really care. When they do care, they're just don't know what to do. It's almost like they get overstimulated. And that makes them not feel good about themselves. And then belittled. And that's what I was saying. I really felt like that your person was brought up in a family like that they weren't really allowed to express their feelings. Sometimes that happens if you have a parent that has a lot of anxiety, right? And they love you. It's not like they don't, but they're so nervous that it comes across as anger. And then you're trying to fix it. I feel like your person tried to fix it by giving their parents suggestions, and they would be told, no, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, they would treat them almost as if they were an extension of themselves. And when a parent has anxiety and they're not making their life work, and they don't like who they are because they were conditioned from their environment, then again, this is how we pass down family karma, ancestral karma of not feeling good about oneself, not feeling like our opinions matter, not feeling like we're awkward or we don't fit in or people don't get us because what we're saying is not really helping, but it's triggering, and that's the energy there. So when they get around you, they don't say anything. Where you may say, well, they say things to other people. They don't have a problem saying something to people that they don't care about. The problem is when they have feelings for that for a person. They have feelings towards you, genuine feelings. They are not comfortable with showing their feelings because they were taught not to be vulnerable, and then they don't really know what to say. So your person doesn't really feel comfortable around. They're not really a people person. Now it doesn't mean that they don't know how to be charming, but again, as far as deep, real, really connect on a deep level, no, they don't like feeling vulnerable. They are more logical and analytical. So they can have a conversation about business. They can have a conversation about money. They can have a conversation about that kind of stuff. But as far as emotional stuff, like if someone died that was close to you, they might not know how to handle it. Or if you were going through an emotionally trying time. And so obviously, if you're getting triggered by them, now they're really going to take it personally because they don't feel good about themselves, because they'll see it as like you're belittling them, even though you're not belittling them. So I can see why, again, you would feel that way. And understand too, you might see it as they're belittling you because they don't know how to respond. So they might, again, some of you are with people that will downplay. They'll be like, oh, like it's not really so bad what you're going through. And that is how you grew up. So there's this sense of both you guys grew up in similar environments where you were not allowed to express yourselves and express yourselves emotionally too, which is what you emotionally needed. Like when a child needs something emotionally, they'll cry. They might, be more like cuddly, more codependent. Might be the parent's shadow, and instead of the parent nurturing that child, they were like, again, go grow up, be a big girl, be a big boy. Don't take things so sensitive. Don't be so sensitive. So, like you said, a lot of times it's not because the parent didn't love. That's not where the wound came from. The wound comes from the interpretation that we have, how we perceived what our parents were telling us. So again, I'm feeling like your person doesn't know how to say anything when you get emotional. They don't know what to do. So you see it like they don't care, like almost unworthy. And rage. It makes over time when this person doesn't act in accordance, there is a lot of anger. And when you say something to this person and they feel belittled, they get angry. So the trigger is anger. And so that means that it's a real old wound. It's a root chakra imbalance. And it happened from, like I said, the core of who you are is the thoughts that you have, the emotions, your energy. And that is really comes from the house that you're born into, the environment that you're brought up into. So it's again at the core of who you are. So there's a lot of fire energy, which is positive when we transmute that energy and put it towards purpose. But not if we're continually going to get angry. It can make us sick. So we see why that this would be a trauma bond, right? Both parties would be stuck in a feeling of limitation, of feeling, again, not good enough, not worthy. Because belittled does make us be angry, but that if that's how we're taking it. And so when two people are not listening to each other, they get angry, obviously. And then that's when the triggers come into play. That's when we tend to we can sabotage the relationship. The person that we're with can sabotage the relationship. So I want to see what the triggers are. I'm not ready. That didn't even belong. That card, by the way, didn't even belong in this deck. So again, accountable. All the blame fell on me and no accountability on your end. I had enough. So again, when you would try to tell this person what you needed and they would downplay or not show feeling or belittle you, or you perceived it as belittling, they were not taking accountability for your feelings, for your emotions. And that's what they're saying when you're like, how come you're not, paying attention to how you're making me feel? You're making it like this person doesn't care. It's not that they don't care. They process their information more logically, more linear, more fact. They don't really tap into the emotional aspect. They're not good with that, especially with people that they care about. Because like I said, at one point when they were younger and they tried to like fix or heal, they would get yelled at. When they were affected by other people's feelings, they were told not to. So they don't know how to process their feelings and emotions. So again, they can do it with people that they don't care about. So it's not that they're not being accountable, but you see it as they're not being accountable. And then they would twist it around on you, because what they're saying is those are your feelings. Those are your feelings, not because of what I'm doing. You're perceiving it as if that's the way that I'm doing. And then you're telling me that I should be someone else. See, soul relationships, again, there's an energetic bond, there's a familiarity. However, you don't think the same way. You might have the same wounds. A lot of soulmates, they do. A lot of like karmic mates do. It keeps them stuck in this karmic theme of where both parties are stuck in this anger of feeling, again, like no one's listening, that everyone's downplaying. Because really, when someone's belittling somebody, they're kind of making fun of them. They're kind of telling them, like making them feel bad for their feelings. And this is what you grew up with, and this is what this person grew up with. However, they learned to completely shut down and deal with life through a very logical and analytical way, where you really don't. You're still looking for that someone to like fix those wounds, but those wounds didn't come from your person. They actually came from the environment that you grew up in. And it's not a blame game, and it's not to go back and try to get those people that you grew up with to be different, because they're not going to be different. 99.9% of the time, they're not going to be different, because we heal by healing ourselves, by understanding what is the wound, what is the karmic theme. And the karmic theme is that you want someone to validate your emotions, and maybe validate them by showing you different behavior, when this person, it's not that they're not listening to you, they're listening to every single word that you say. If anything, they replay what you say over and over and over in their head. They just don't, they're in a block. This is their block. They have a limited perception of how they're supposed to deal with things. because they're not an emotional person. They don't feel comfortable. But being with you, they're going to have to learn how to be. And for you, again, would need to not be so reliant on them to like have to validate your feelings and emotions. Dominate. I felt I had no sense of control over my choices because you wanted to dominate me. So again, I kind of feel like this is what they kind of feel towards you, Leo, because emotionally, when you get excited and you get upset and you're like, you're not seeing things from my way because you're treating me badly, because this is how you're perceiving that, because they're not showing feeling, they're not showing emotion, they're not really, you're not feeling like they're really being present in your life and it's triggering. You're like, well, I feel like you get emotional and they take it like, well, now you want to dominate like how I think, how I feel, and this will create intimacy issues. And intimacy is trust, but it will affect the bedroom as well, because trust, if I can't, if I'm not allowed to be me, there's a sense that you don't feel like you're allowed to be you. And this person doesn't feel like they could be them because, again, you want them to be more emotional and they want you to be more logical because your emotions, I feel, scare them. Upside down. I felt I was living my life upside down without a way to straighten it. You kept me in a trapped cycle, in an endless cycle. So that's what happens like when you're stuck in a block. Now that sounds like very like dramatic, but really what it is that you're stuck in a karmic loop because you're with somebody that you do care about. There is strong emotions and feelings. There is soul recognition. However, again, they don't process information the same way you do. They don't they don't deal with life and they don't approach life the way that you do. So they also have a lot of blocks when it comes to being able to be emotionally vulnerable. So it creates a lot of blockages for you because in you being able to open up, and it triggers you. That's why it creates blockages within you because it triggers all those old wounds where you weren't really like allowed to be vulnerable, where you were told not to be sensitive. So it's like you're reliving this karmic theme. And so when you're stuck with somebody that you love and you care about, because there is profound connection, but then they're doing things to continually trigger you, then we have an emotional distance. And then both parties want to control the relationship. That's what winds up happening. It becomes a second chakra imbalance. Second chakra affects individuality, passion, and individuality, meaning we're with the person that we really care about, but we don't feel like we can be ourselves. So we're not ourselves fully. We're paying more attention to not stepping on a person's toes or trying to control our person to try to get them to see things from our way instead of just living our life. And so then we can't go with the flow of life. And then you're not going to be in your creativity and your passion center, because really when you're creating, you're going with the flow of life because it's more of an intuitive language, not a survival language. Survival is left brain, it's logical, it's strategic, it's good with business, which a person's good at, but it's not good when really we're dealing with trying to manifest our life because we're only looking at things from, again, our perception. Usually, if we're strategizing, we're doing what's best for us because how could you intuitively know what a person is that you're dealing with is feeling? And this is where your person always goes wrong. They tend to be selfish in the way that they view life. And it's only because they try to cut off their heart, because at one time they were taught not to. So you take it like they're deliberately doing things to you when really they've just been programmed in an environment to be that way, and that's what they feel comfortable now doing, not so much that they want to do this to hurt you, but we can see. So I'm going to just pull like two more, like to just see what comes out from a different deck and just see intuitively what I pick up on. Deceiving, not who you say you are, having to put up a front. The real you is better. So again, when you begin to be triggered because of a wound where you feel like your person isn't listening to you, they're not caring about you, then what happens is you begin to get paranoid and think that the person's trying to deceive you. And then they also are getting triggered also because you're telling them how much you care about them, how much you love them, but then you're yelling at them. So there's a sense of, are you trying to get over on me? Are you going to try and feel like your person has been in a lot of toxic relationships because they continually get into these trauma bond relationships. So what happens is when you're in a trauma bond relationship and one person is never showing any emotion and they're really showing like they don't care, the other person is doing a lot of work and they're putting in a lot of emotional energy, and they're doing a lot of things also to try and get an emotional response. It happens unconsciously because on some level, you might have been the caregiver growing up in your house and you got love and acceptance from doing and giving to, whoever was in your family that maybe was emotionally not there for you. This is a repeating karmic cycle is what I'm saying now, whether it was through growing up or through like a very like one of your first relationships that you had happen early on within your dating career per se. So when we have a wound, we begin to look for like similar patterns, and we do this unconsciously. So you see what you look for. So again, there's a sense of deceiving, but not really even feeling that it's all there. I think that that's what happens when you've been wounded and you don't heal. Your perceptions get distorted about yourself and who you're dealing with. And this is how karmic cycles repeat, especially if you feel like the person is cheating and they're not cheating. You can make up the person cheat because they're like, if I'm going to get accused for it and you're making me miserable all the time, well, eventually I'm not going to want to be with you anyway. So there's a little bit of that energy of that scheming, manipulating the situation, going behind someone's back. So this is what I was saying about like the control. When you have a second chakra in balance, you're not going with the flow of life. It becomes there's love there, but remember, love is needed first of all, and to the mind, it's all about survival, and your emotional survival is just as important as your physical survival to the mind. And so when you don't trust a person because they don't show feelings, or you're expecting them to act a certain way and to do certain things a certain way, and they're not doing it, there is a sense of unconsciously wanting to control because it doesn't make you feel safe. So, and then what happens too is your person feels as if they are being controlled, and then they are scheming to just make sure that you don't control, because this is not where two people feel comfortable to actually have a conversation and communicate, because your person doesn't want to tap into their emotions and be vulnerable. And so this is why you're feeling like they're deceiving you when they're not really deceiving you. They just don't want to be controlled. So they have commitment issues because of the intimacy issues. And that's because they don't know how to be vulnerable. So then there's a sense of you wanting to control the relationship, and that really does keep you in a place of feeling like not worthy, feeling like like being angry, like because you're never really releasing that negative energy. That negative energy is being recycled from relationship to person, and if we become that energy, we become that magnet, and not wanting to, and because unconsciously we are trying to protect ourselves. So we see what we look for. So I want to see what the hidden truths are, because just because we'll see whether this relationship has gotten so out of control where you two can't stay together because you're going to keep getting triggered, and you know this, or your person knows this, or whether they really want to work it out. Because if the person really wants to work it out, they will keep trying to do different things. And really, that's what healing is. Healing is that we approach the situation differently. We have to understand what it is that we're doing. So again, the emotion is the rage. That's the anger. That's the gateway to spiritual healing. We look at that. And why? Because I feel belittled. I feel like I'm not allowed to like express myself. Like here I see like all these things: dominate, scheming, deceiving, not taking accountability. Like all these things are like a form of detachment, a form of I'm not going to be emotionally there, instead of, and this is really what creates the rage and really keeps the relationship like upside down. Like it won't go further. You'll be constantly in a place of, I love this person, but I'm like, they make me so angry. I love them, but I hate them. And so the hidden truths of what they feel, what they feel for you, Leo, what they feel for you, is I'm grateful for the spiritual lesson. So again, and I feel like that's because they've tried to walk away from this relationship, but they really feel like they can. So it makes them look at themselves. It makes them look, and really, like I said, they try to cut their feelings off. But if you cut your feelings off, you cut the whole spiritual reason of why we're here off. Like you don't awaken yourself to that. And so this person has such strong feelings towards you, and they can't walk away. They want to walk away, trust me. But they're also grateful because there's been a lot of things in their life that hasn't worked for them. And they've always wanted to control the relationship, and they have controlled it by not giving emotionally. It's passive aggressive, because they're still in control in not giving you anything and not showing you that you care, but you are continually staying locked in and giving them as much in hopes that they'll eventually give more, would actually keep you in a place of never healing, first of all, and in a place where they would never look and see what they would do, and you would just eventually get so angry that it becomes like where we want to control, but we don't care what the consequences. Like it gets to a one-up you game. The one-up you game is you're not showing me any feelings. I'm trying to explain to you, you don't care. And so I'm continually feel this pain. So eventually I'm going to create pain in the relationship because you're not listening to me. But your person, because you don't react, it causes you anger, but you walked away here. they're like looking at this relationship and they're grateful. And I think that you are too, because on a deeper level, you realize that there's a bigger purpose to why that this is happening. And it allows you to look at your wounds so that you can heal them, so that you can really become a magnet to who and what you want in your life. Because there's certain things in your life that are not working because you have this stuck energy. This person just came into your life to awaken you to those things, that those energies that have laid dormant. They become subconscious. Your wounds are subconscious after a while. Your body can function being imbalanced. Sickness and disease happens because you got so comfortable from living imbalanced. And how are we imbalanced? You're imbalanced through your energy. Your energy is comprised of your thoughts and your emotions. Held in the body is strength. Again, what makes you a magnet of who and what comes into your life. So your person is controlling and has wounds, but they're not approaching it the same way that you are. You want them to like give you emotion, like open up more, be more like show more passion, be more, have more intimate situations, like have this person take initiative and show that they care. Let them, like, if you want to have a soulful relationship with a person that was not deep, wasn't allowing that, it didn't mean that they didn't care. They would show you that they care maybe by like fixing your car, or buying you something, or doing a nice gesture, but emotionally not capable. And so it tells you something about you. It makes you look at yourself, where you realize your person can't be your everything, that only God can be everything. You know, there is nothing that's going to be perfect except for your connection with really the divine. And that's through your purpose, and that's through your passions, and being involved in your passions helps you connect to different people and situations, where if your person's not emotionally capable, you shouldn't continue to go to the empty well and try and get water, or try to keep putting the circle peg into the square hole, because that's not the way that they are. You were the best thing in my life. So I knew that there was separation. I said, because there's anger there. There's anger. It's like, but there's also a sense of not appreciating, not wanting to look at things from your angle, again, wanting to be accountable. So they are starting to see that they didn't really give enough to this connection, but they were protecting their heart. So even if they spent time, they were not really deep, and they were afraid to. So, but what they realize is, now that you're not in their life, they're dealing with people like themselves that are surface. And so that when there's no depth, we feel empty. There's no depth to the people that we are interacting with. Whether that's friends, whether that's, relationships, first, we're not going to trust, because we can feel that it's not deep. So your person, like, you were always deep. If anything, you were overly emotional, which made this person feel loved and cared about. And now they don't have that. And they regret that. I love you. I mean, listen, that love, unconditional love is just this. When we pull a person into our life that we are continually triggered, but we still are so passionate about them. And again, that's how we know that we are in a spiritual connection. I don't believe that your person ever really had a relationship like this, number one. and number two, ever really understood it, or if it happened before, would want to. They're actually in a place in their life that they're looking for, that they were looking for something deep. But I think it took this relationship to fall apart for them to see it. So now that they feel this way about you, I'm going to put these cards back because I want to ask, how do you feel about them? How do you feel about them? Now, I'm sure, again, it's a general message, so some of you are going to feel like you'd want to give it another chance, especially if it's a soul relationship, past life karmic relationship. There's a chance to shape shift depending on what you do. Obviously, not getting triggered and handling the situation the way that I mentioned before, you wouldn't be stuck in a trauma bond relationship. It would force this person to heal, because there's an essence of, we think that we can control unconditional love, and as you can see, you both can't, because all your cards were about that. Keeping someone upside down, not being accountable, trying to deceive and scheme and dominate because I'm not ready, leaves us in place of rage, right? Like, so all of that. But here it is, I love you and I care about you. So I'm really protecting my heart. But then you're like, okay, but if you love me, and then if you're showing me absolutely nothing. So you can still have this profound connection with someone, but know that you just can't live with them because you need someone to show you that. It could be that. Some of you might be like, well, I'll be willing to like bend a little bit, which inevitably that's what soulmate twin flame relationships are all about. Really, and all soul relationships, like past life too, because unconditional love makes us change. And so we might not change all the way, but we'll compromise. And that's what we're supposed to do, because what Spirit is saying is, you both are fighting for control, and both of you have perceptions only from your perception, not from a place of balance where you're considering both people's feelings, both people. So you both have to go in, like, be in the other person's shoes in order to feel and see things from that person's perception, so that you can release the anger. So that, because again, both of you guys are protecting your heart and neither person is budging, and you walked away, and this person really feels like, okay, well, now I'm ready to actually try to be a little bit different, and we're going to see how you feel about it. Sometimes it takes a little while for cards to fall out when you're shuffling. Finally, okay, I remember every detail of that day. Oh, it was just a box. Okay. I remember every detail of that day. So again, the last time that you talked, so I think that you're replaying things in your mind over and over and over again too, the same way that your person is. Because you miss that person. And when it's a soul relationship, it is going to impact you. It is going to, because it's divine. It's where Spirit is asking you to look. You came closer than anyone. So there's a sense that you're like, we really almost came like closer. So you feel as if, like if they would have bended, this would have been your person, meaning like you were as vulnerable and opened up as much as you were capable of doing at that time. Why I say it that way is because I feel like this person's going to come back and give a little bit more, and that's why I want to see. But as far as right now, they're like, they remember everything, so they're kind of stuck in that thing, but they realize that they didn't change. And I feel like you are actually realizing, well, I actually contribute that. This one's falling to me and this one fell out. So I want to be more than friends. So you want to be more than with this person. I know I was a distraction from your pain. So I feel like you both are a distraction from each other's pain, because when there's unconditional love and there's a lot of passion there, you forget about the bad relationships, the karmic cycles. You're willing to to give the relationship another chance, right? Like we want to give the relationship another chance when there's like passion, and that there's unconditional love, which soul relationships have. So that is a distraction, because like I said, both of you had this energy. So in this energy, there's really only two energies, love and fear. So rage would fall under pain, because fear, like I'm afraid of getting emotionally hurt again. I'm afraid of being vulnerable because I never get back. That's you, Leo. And this person's like, I'm afraid to be in a relationship because I'm always told that I should be someone else. And so, what is the spiritual advice? How can we heal? How can we integrate this energy? Because understand, it's all about healing. It looks like two people here that we want to be together. You, Leo, want to be with your person. Two people. So whoever you're connected to, Leo, that person wants to be with you as well. However, the approach to healing may be very different. We look and we see, what do you need to heal first, Leo? And then we'll ask what your person needs to heal. And how to go about healing, right? How to go about healing is really important. Okay. Have to heal shame, mistrust. So, shame is, what am I ashamed of? You need to ask yourself, why does my shame come from? Does my shame come from me or other people? Beliefs about how I should behave and feel. Do others control me by shaming me? Do I shame others? So this is about looking at core beliefs around shame, because again, I feel like I think that I said that I was going to look at your person's, but it could also be yours, because again, shame. We are looking at the wound of you possibly being shamed because you wanted to be like feel loved, and again get an emotional reaction, feel that emotional support from whether it was your parents or an early on relationship that you had, and your person being shamed for again showing feeling and being perceived that they acted and said things that they really shouldn't in a time of need, but obviously they weren't trying to do that. So they were just shamed and mistrust. And obviously both parties still have issues around trusting. Again, which is the second chakra in balance, by the way, intimacy, trust, individuality, balance, being able to go with the flow and not control. Again, both parties need to know that they're not going to be shamed. It's also to affirm, like doing affirmations every morning helps us to recondition the mind. When you want to heal a wound, it's not just about knowing. It's about creating a new neurological pathway in the mind, and that's through creating a new thought pattern. New thought patterns create new behaviorisms. So the affirmation for shame is, I look at my mistakes with understanding and acceptance. I learn, I repair what can be fixed, and I move on. I'm grounded in my self-worth. So again, not saying that showing your feelings should ever be shameful about, but it's not overcompensating to the fact that you don't say anything at all, which is what I believe your person did. And it's not about you not sharing the way that you feel. However, it's about understanding that that the most important thing is to be grounded, be in the here and now in the present moment, and realize that your person does care. They don't think of you the way that you're perceiving. It's they do care. They just don't show the way that they care the same way that you would. And that for whatever wound that you have, which it carries shame, saying things again like that whatever, even if you were to do something wrong, to deal with your mistakes compassionately, to be acceptant and compassionately towards yourself, allows you to actually be more compassionate to your partner. It's because you're not expecting them to do it for you. You're doing it for yourself, and vice versa. And trusting starts with these basic things. It's I'm just allowed to express myself the way that I need to. I'm allowed to respond and react through my process without offending you. I'm free to be me, which is both parties need to learn. And that comes from, again, this inner higher knowledge and wisdom, and that's spiritual wisdom. Wisdom comes to those who gather enough knowledge about life, universe, human beings, earth, rules, patterns, etc., and know how to process those facts, apply them, and share them. Those special individuals do it with humility, grace, and love. They know that matters and what doesn't in life, and what is worth pursuing. Again, they're listening to their intuition. Let's focus on all the knowledge we have acquired in our life and know how it helps us. Affirm, I am wise and aware. I learn every day. I become the best version of myself. So again, I don't even know whether or not this card came as kind of an extra, but because it has the latest stickers on it, but I love these cards. They're wounding cards. So, and they talk about the healing. How can we spiritually heal? And that's through this again, the higher meaning of life. And that's when we can actually be compassionate with ourselves, and at the same time put ourselves in someone else's shoes and perceive what they were going through, and so that we can deal with the situation with grace instead of shaming the person and being all caught up in the situation, because there is love here, there is a connection here. However, it is a karmic. And the karmics are, all soul relationships are karmic because they come in to teach. However, this is a past life karmic that if you don't handle it correctly, like I said, I feel a lot of emotions bubbling up. And I also then within you, Leo, and then I feel then your person would just completely shut off. So omniscience is all about being able to go with the flow of the universe, right? It's coming from the higher self, but then also taking into the fact that there's spiritual laws and universal laws and laws in nature. And when we're in the flow of the universe, we are actually in alignment with all those laws, which are actually in the same, they all are derived from the law of love, the unconditional love, and that's the language of God. It's the language of the universe. It's the language and the energy that's deep within inside of us. It's that knowing language. And so the universe tells us, courage, I am stronger than fear and bigger than doubt. I am light and I remain light. I trust in God and stand tall before the test of life. I grow and become wiser. So at every challenge, I am willing and I am a being of new life. So new life is like, you can create a new life through just, again, seeing things differently and not just seeing things differently, but taking new approaches. So again, courage is actually to be vulnerable in a relationship like this without losing yourself, without losing the connection to the higher self. And that happens when we cut ourselves off to the heart, which is what your person was trying to do. They were trying to not feel and cut themselves off from what they feel in order to be strategic, in order to feel safe, and not showing your vulnerability again made you not feel good about yourself, where it's not one or the other, and it's about you having courage to be in this relationship and realize that your person may not emotionally be able to give you what you need all the time, but you shouldn't be expecting it from them all the time. So the courage is for you to heal those aspects of yourself and be strong in the relationship to be able to actually find more balance, because that's why spirit is bringing you this person that thinks so much differently than you do, because spirit is saying you feel like you need a little bit more emotional support than you actually do because of the wound that you had, where we have to heal ourselves. And that's really how your reading started. Your reading started for both of you, or if I can find those cards. They were the small little cards, and it was, if I can find it, I don't know if I can find it now. But no, it was something about, I can't find them because they're underneath a pile of cards. But your reading started off with, we need to parent ourselves. This relationship has happened for us to look at ourselves and for us to heal, because the problem is not really us, like not the other person, it's us, it's our own wounds, is what I'm trying to say. I'm going to leave that there, Leo. Now, if you resonated, remember, write the word omniscience in your comment bar, and you'll know, like I said, if I chose you, if I wrote the word winner underneath the comment. If I did, well, I'll talk to you soon. Until then, be true to you. Bye.